Let me take you back to the heart of war-torn Europe. The year is 1944. The air thick with smoke and echoes of artillery explosions, rubble lining streets where battles were fought just days before an American engineering team stands silently over a captured German Panther tank. Massive steel machine, towering yet silent, a mix of awe and curiosity, filling the air, sound of distant gunfire, fading camera pans over shattered buildings, and twisted metal, rubble, scattered around the Panther soldiers in dusty uniforms, inspecting every inch, their eyes tracing the contours of the massive turret and thick armor. The tank had inspired fear on the battlefield, yet here it stands motionless, a trophy of American success and a puzzle of engineering that might reveal why the Allies dominated. The Panther was a marvel in design, advanced suspension, thick armor, and a powerful gun capable of destroying any Sherman. It was the pride of German armored divisions, yet in capturing one, the Americans saw an opportunity not just to study a weapon, but to understand the limitations hidden beneath its imposing exterior. Curiosity and strategy driving every movement, camera zooms to engineers taking notes, measuring treads, engines and gears, sound of tools clinking on steel, each click echoing in the abandoned street. The men whisper to one another, comparing calculations, marveling at the complexity, yet aware that even the mightiest machine could have a hidden weakness that would teach a lesson in preparation, observation, and American ingenuity. Across Europe, this captured Panther becomes more than a tank. It becomes a symbol of insight, a testament to the combination of courage, intelligence, and industrial capacity that allowed American forces to not only defeat enemy forces, but learn from them. Every component examined, every calculation made a reminder that victory is not just in firepower, but in understanding the tools of war. Let me take you into the heart of German engineering, where the Panther was conceived, a machine of steel precision and lethal intent designed to dominate battlefields. From the forests of France to the plains of Eastern Europe, the tank's thick sloped armor, advanced suspension, and powerful 75 gun made it a formidable adversary, the pride of the Wehrmacht and a nightmare for Allied tankers. Sound of distant artillery, fading camera pans across diagrams and archival footage of Panther tanks rolling through European terrain, engines roaring, treads gripping mud and rubble. The Germans had poured ingenuity and resources into its construction, every rivet, every gear calculated for performance, yet this marvel carried a hidden fragility, a flaw invisible beneath layers of steel and German confidence. American engineers approached the captured Panther with a mixture of respect and determination, their task to understand how it functioned, how it moved, and why it had a reputation that struck fear into even the most experienced Allied crews. Every hatch opened, every gear examined, revealing a marvel of design, yet also showing signs of over-engineering complexity that could betray it under sustained use. Across the deserted streets and makeshift testing grounds, the engineers run preliminary inspections, listening to engines hum, testing rotation of turrets, examining final drives and transmission components, camera pans across tools, scratching metal notes being scribbled in dusty notebooks. The Panther's power and precision are evident, yet a careful eye begins to notice stress marks, wear patterns, and limitations not evident in combat. Contrast is clear. The Panther, while deadly on the battlefield, was not invincible. Its engineering brilliance came with a cost: fragility in critical components, a dependence on perfect maintenance, and vulnerability to extended operational stress. American ingenuity seeks to exploit this lesson, understanding not only what made the Panther fearsome, but why industrial efficiency, practical design, and strategic insight allowed Allied forces to overcome even the most advanced enemy machinery. Let me take you to a quiet clearing in war, ravaged Europe, where American engineers begin the meticulous process of preparing the captured Panther for its first tests. The tank sits silent amid shattered trees and debris, its massive frame, a shadow of power waiting to reveal secrets that could change how the Allies approached German armor. Sound of tools, clinking camera pans across engineers, checking tracks and suspension, inspecting the final drive and transmission systems. Each man focused on precision, recording every measurement and anomaly with careful notes. The air thick with anticipation, the soldiers aware that even a single misstep could damage the tank or skew the results of their study. The Panther is stripped of any unnecessary gear to reduce weight and ensure accurate testing controls are checked, gauges inspected, hatches secured. The Americans approach it with both reverence and practicality, recognizing the genius of German engineering while seeking to uncover Vulnerabilities that had been overlooked in battle analysis charts and blueprints spread across crates as the men coordinate testing sequences, assigning roles and safety measures across the clearing. The tank is fueled cautiously. Cameras capture close-ups of engineers wiping sweat from their brows, adjusting components, small explosions of compressed air signaling movement of the massive treads, each step a reminder of the Panther's size and potential threat, yet also its susceptibility to mechanical failure. The men know this test is not only about strength, but endurance, precision, and understanding how human ingenuity can exploit even the most fearsome machine. The preparation is complete, and tension rises as the Panther, once the terror of European battlefields, is ready to roll under American scrutiny. The engineers step back, tools in hand, anticipation on every face. Camera pans slowly over the tank from turret to tracks, sunlight glinting off steel, the scene cinematic, every detail emphasizing the combination of American ingenuity, courage, and methodical approach that defines success in understanding the enemy. Let me take you to the moment when the captured Panther finally moves under American control, engines rumbling, the massive tank rolling slowly across the debris strewn clearing, a marvel of German engineering, now under the scrutinizing gaze of engineers eager to understand its secrets, every sound and movement recorded for insight and analysis. Sound of diesel engine and metal groaning. Camera pans across the tank's treads, churning mud and gravel, sparks flying as the suspension absorbs uneven terrain. Engineers crouched near, by taking notes and adjusting gauges, the air tense with anticipation as they watch for any sign of weakness or failure. The Panther size and power both awe-inspiring and intimidating as it accelerates over uneven ground. The Americans note the precision of the turret rotation, the smoothness of the tracks, yet subtle stresses begin to appear. The engine strains, the final drive whines under load. The crew inside the tank communicate quietly using hand signals. Engineers exchange glances, recognizing that while the Panther excels in design, its complexity is also a liability. Every observation recorded, every anomaly highlighted as potential weaknesses to exploit across the clearing. The camera pans slowly, capturing the tank in motion, treads churning debris, the turret swiveling deliberately, every movement cinematic, showing power yet hinting at fragility. The Panther, the jewel of German armored divisions, demonstrates both brilliance and vulnerability as American ingenuity and methodical observation document what raw power alone cannot conceal. By the end of the first test drive, the engineers have collected critical data on suspension, engine performance, and the stress on the final drive. The Panther has revealed its hidden limitations, a flaw invisible in combat, but now exposed under sustained and controlled use. A lesson in how preparation, knowledge, and human ingenuity transform fearsome machines into understandable challenges. Let me take you to the pivotal moment when American engineers pushed the Panther further than any combat scenario had ever demanded, its massive treads churning across dirt and rubble, engines straining under sustained load, every gauge monitored, every sound noted. Anticipation thick in the air, knowing that the tank could finally reveal its hidden truth. Sound of metal groaning and gears whining. Camera pans across engineers crouched behind crates, scribbling notes, eyes wide. Focus, the Panther moving steadily yet with subtle signs of stress, a shudder in the suspension, a whining sound from the final drive. The men exchange tense glances, aware that history is unfolding under their watchful observation. A machine feared across Europe, now showing a vulnerability no one expected. As the tank reaches 150 kilometers, American engineers notice increasing resistance, the final drive heating, components straining beyond tolerances, smoke curling from joints, the engine laboring, the crew signaling cautiously, the moment approaching when the Panther's might succumbs to its hidden flaw, every measurement confirming what calculations had suggested under sustained use. The complex German final drive is its undoing across the clearing. The camera pans dramatically as the massive tank shudders violently, its treads grinding to a halt, sparks flying from final drive. The engineers erupt with a mix of awe and restrained triumph. The formidable German Panther, symbol of battlefield terror, has failed in its mechanical heart, a testament to the limits of engineering when design exceeds practical reliability. Sound fades to tense silence. Camera lingers on The immobilized tank with engineers approaching carefully inspecting the failure, every bolt, gear, and stress mark photographed and recorded the discovery, a profound lesson in the contrast between raw power and practical design. The Panther's collapse a vivid demonstration of American ingenuity, discipline, and persistence, revealing that even the mightiest enemy has weaknesses waiting to be understood and exploited. Let me take you into the quiet aftermath as American engineers gather around the immobilized Panther, the massive tank silent now except for the hiss of cooling metal and the scribbling of notes, a machine that had struck fear across Europe, reduced to a lesson in vulnerability and practical engineering, sound of tools tapping and pages rustling, camera pans across engineers inspecting the final drive gears, warped and caked in dust and grease, bearings strained beyond their limits, calculations being made, diagrams sketched in mud and notebooks, sunlight glinting off steel highlighting the intricate complexity now revealed as a fatal flaw. The men discuss in hushed tones the contrast between German ambition and practical reliability. The Panther's final drive failure teaches an important lesson. American forces realize that advanced design does not always equate to battlefield dominance, that complexity without durability can be exploited by strategy, discipline, and understanding. The engineers note how simple, reliable designs like the Sherman allow sustained operations without catastrophic failure, a demonstration of the American approach to industrial efficiency and tactical planning. Camera pans over engineers, demonstrating the stress points to other soldiers, diagrams overlaid on the tanks, silhouette cinematic focus on every shattered gear and cracked casing, every observation becoming a teaching tool. The Panther's collapse underscores the importance of preparation, testing, and knowledge before engagement, a victory of insight and intellect as much as firepower across the field. The engineers summarize findings, reporting that the German design, while formidable in theory, cannot withstand sustained use without failure. The American perspective becomes clear. Victory is not only in superior weapons, but in understanding the limitations of the enemy, applying intelligence, endurance, and ingenuity to turn fearsome machines into manageable challenges. Let me take you to the front lines where the lessons from the captured Panther transformed strategy. American engineers and commanders now understood that even the most advanced German tanks had hidden weaknesses. Every operation could be planned with precision, knowing that endurance and reliability often outweighed raw power. Sound of distant artillery and engines rumbling, camera pans across Sherman tanks, advancing through European towns and forests. Marines and soldiers coordinating movements using knowledge gleaned from Panther testing, the men now confident facing even the most feared German armor, understanding where and how to strike with minimal risk to themselves and maximum effect. Commanders brief their units, showing diagrams of the Panther final drive failure, highlighting stress points and maintenance vulnerabilities, soldiers nodding, understanding how their weapons, tactics, and patience could exploit the limitations of enemy machines, a psychological edge, as well as a technical one, confidence radiating across units as they prepare for engagements across the battlefield. Sherman tanks and other American armored vehicles move strategically, avoiding unnecessary risks while targeting weak points in German armor with coordinated fire and maneuvers. Camera pans dynamically showing explosions and smoke, the contrast between robust, reliable American machinery and complex, fragile German designs clear with every engagement. The engineers' findings now serve more than technical knowledge, they become tools of strategy and morale. American forces advance with confidence and precision, knowing that preparation, intelligence, and understanding of the enemy could turn fearsome Panther tanks from symbols of terror into manageable threats. Every victory reinforcing the combination of ingenuity, courage, and disciplined planning that defines American dominance. Let me take you into the heart of battle, where American tankers and infantry apply the hard-earned lessons from the captured Panther, each soldier aware of the enemy's strengths yet confident in the vulnerabilities revealed by engineers. Every move deliberate, every strike calculated to exploit mechanical weaknesses. Sound of gunfire and explosions, camera pans across Sherman tanks, advancing through urban rubble and dense forest. Marines coordinating with tank crews, targeting German Panthers with precision. 50 cal fire and artillery support, soldiers ducking behind cover, signaling movements. The atmosphere tense yet controlled, their confidence rooted in knowledge and preparation. Stories emerge of soldiers advancing under fire, disabling Panther tanks with pinpoint targeting of weak Drives or tracking mechanisms, one tank commander maneuvering with insight to force a Panther into a position where it can be immobilized, another Marine directing fire while providing cover for his comrades' cinematic slow ocean, capturing bullets striking treads, sparks flying, smoke curling from engines, the scene emphasizing courage and intelligence in action across the battlefield. The contrast between German design and American discipline is clear. The engineers' tests have become actionable intelligence, bravery, and technical knowledge merging to turn dangerous engagements into calculated victories. Every Sherman tank that disables a Panther, a testament to preparation, observation, and human resolve. Camera pans to soldiers exchanging nods and brief smiles in fleeting moments of relief and pride. The Panther's hidden flaw becomes a tool for American dominance, not just in firepower, but in morale and psychological edge. The knowledge allows soldiers to approach fearsome enemy machines with confidence, turning anxiety into calculated courage, each engagement reinforcing the lesson that understanding the enemy combined with discipline, skill, and bravery is as powerful as any weapon. Let me take you to the closing months of the war, the thunder of cannons replaced by the hum of victory engines rolling through conquered ground, the American flag rising over Europe's shattered landscape, and beside it rows of captured Panther tanks, silent now like relics of a failed dream camp. Pans across muddy fields littered with burn. Doubt armor Panthers with their turrets, jammed gears, frozen final drives, shattered under strain, their supposed mechanical superiority laid bare under the cold logic of engineering and endurance. American soldiers inspect them with calm confidence, not in mockery, but in confirmation that ingenuity and reliability had triumphed over overcomplication and arrogance in makeshift testing yards. American engineers gather once more, retesting captured vehicles, charting every failure, every fracture, clipboards filled with notes, gear teeth stripped, bearings melted, transmissions warped under stress. They had learned the truth, a truth that would echo through decades of military design, that power means nothing without endurance, that beauty in machinery must bow to the discipline of reliability. Sound of wind whistling through open tank hatches. Officer walks along a line of Sherman crews, their uniforms torn, their faces tired, yet proud. He tells them, "Gentlemen, the Panther was fierce, but it broke before you did." The men smile quietly, some laugh softly. They've seen too much to celebrate loudly, but inside they know what this means. They had faced one of the most feared weapons in Hitler's arsenal, and through grit, determination, and American ingenuity, they had not just survived, they had outlasted it. The final drive of the Panther, that weak, overstrained mechanism, becomes a symbol of Germany's war machine itself, magnificent in theory, doomed in practice. And in its failure, America found proof that its strength came not from fearsome power, but from the unwavering will to endure. The war was over. Guns silent, the tanks motionless, but the lessons remained in a small testing field somewhere in France. A captured Panther stood rusting beneath the overcast sky, its once glorious lines eaten by time, its final drive locked forever, a frozen testament to flawed perfection. Let me take you there, walk with me among the wrecks. American engineers still move carefully around them, clipboards in hand, measuring, studying, recording, not to gloat, but to learn, because that's what America did best: learn, adapt, and evolve. Every flaw in an enemy machine became a blueprint for progress, every failure a spark for something stronger. And as those engineers looked at the broken gears of the Panther, they didn't see defeat, they saw opportunity. The future of armored warfare would be built on these lessons: simplicity over vanity, strength over style, and reliability over romance. Camera pans over tank graveyard as sunlight breaks through clouds. The world would change, and from these muddy battlefields the seeds of the Cold War era's armor were planted. America's tanks would never again be designed to impress, but to endure, to fight, to come home. And somewhere an old Sherman crewman would tell his grandson years later about the day they faced a Panther, how the Germans feared its power, but trusted it too much, and how the Americans trusted each other more than any machine. Sound of distant engines starting fade into hopeful music. The captured Panther may have failed after 150 kilometers, but America kept moving mile after mile through steel and storm, through sacrifice and innovation, proving once again that true strength isn't measured by how far your machine can go, but by how long your spirit can endure. Fade out, camera rises above battlefield wrecks as narration closes. This is not just a story about tanks, it's a story about men, about resilience, and about a nation that refused to stop learning, refused to stop fighting, and refused to stop moving forward. America, forged in challenge, tempered in war, and forever driven by the will to endure.